Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 2 of One Day Many Years Ago. My name is Gary Krepak. I'll be your host, and what you're looking at right now is a product of the background I painted in the last episode and the work I got done, not realizing I did not hit record while I started recording this episode. I just went through an entire rehearsal thinking I was recording. So again, my name is Gary Krepak. This is One Day Many Years Ago, and this is a little bitty series of me telling autobiographical stories while I paint poorly. As some of you know, I've been involved in the music industry for 35 years. I was a professional nightclub DJ, and I also operated in other facets of the DJ life. Like I was in live bands as a turntablist. I was active in the underground and the rave scene and the electronica scene here in town as a DJ. And I am also a person living with disabilities. I have epilepsy and I have a disease called mesial temporal sclerosis with hippocampus. And what this whole series is me painting scenes while I tell stories. I'm painting poorly while I tell stories. And I have a story for you guys. One day many years ago, I left this very garage apartment in Bossier City, and I left in my 1982 Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme Brougham. It was a beautiful car, I really miss it, to go to my job, my night job in downtown Shreveport, Louisiana. And at the time, I was working in this beautiful old Victorian brick building that had a nightclub in it called Club Isabella. Currently, the signage hanging on that building says Chicago. But at the time, it was Club Isabella. Previous to that, it was Trolley's 29 Club. Previous to that, it was the Seven Sisters Supper Club. But when I worked there, it was known as Club Isabella. And one day, many years ago, I walked through the front door, and our assistant manager / doorman, Jim, meets me in the lobby. You know, we exchange pleasantries, and he goes, "Hey, man, you've got a package, you've got a shipment upstairs in your DJ booth." And I knew what that meant. That my order. Now, back in those days, we would have to call up distributors and specialized record shops that got all the hottest new releases or pre-releases and have them shipped to us in Shreveport, because we didn't have a record store in Shreveport that was really up to date or ahead of the time, preferably. I preferred my records months before the public got to hear them, and I was fortunate and I was able to get a lot of test pressings over the years that way. Right now, you're watching me paint. This is bright. Bright aqua green from Liquitex, and this is actually me touching up and continuing work on the subject of last night's episode of Whose Mom Is This? I'm not going to spoil that, but Whose Mom Is This is based on an event that happened in another venue behind Club Isabella called Wet Bar. And Wet Bar is currently occupied by a club owned by my buddy Tim Huck. Shout out to Tim. And his current business there is Sandbar. And last night I said that Wet Bar was all black and gray on the inside. Well, that wasn't true. Upon retrospect, I realized that I was inaccurate and incorrect. That actually the walls in there were kind of an aqua green, blue-green, light blue-green in color. And so what I'm doing is I'm representing that green, this being the DJ booth here, and this being a wall over a stairwell that goes to the downstairs, where my homeboy Ricky Loke has been a current resident down there in that little area down there for years and years. Shout out to Ricky Loke, love you, man. And that's the painting you're watching me attempt to complete poorly. We're just going to call it abstract art. How's that? Yeah, it's an abstract of my memories. I don't have photographs of it, and I'm not in this building frequently, so I'm going to do my best to represent it the way I remember it from my memory. And I go to back to the subject. One day many years ago, I walk into Club Isabella, and Jim tells me I have a package upstairs, so I go upstairs in this gorgeous Victorian era brick building, 2-story building, and I go up the stairs, and I walk across that hardwood floor, and I walk across the dance floor, and it was utterly quiet and peaceful because I hadn't arrived yet. And what we're doing is telling stories about my musical experiences from many years ago. And that noise in the background is my Basset Hound Johnny. My Facebook fans know my Basset Hound Johnny. And what we're doing is I'm telling stories about my musical past while I still have those memories intact before I have major surgery for epilepsy coming up this June the 9th, or 4 days from now. So I'm doing what I can to apply a bunch of impasto on the area that would be the DJ booth and last night's subject, Wet Bar, and their special guests. And you have to watch episode 1 to know who that was. And I'm going to give you guys a heads up. You will never know the subject of any of these episodes until the very last sentence. No spoilers. I will allude to who I'm talking about, but you won't know until the very end of the episode. You have to watch the whole episode to know who I'm talking about. And if you don't watch the whole episode, you're going to miss a bunch of other details. Anyway, I go upstairs to Club Isabella, and I go to my DJ booth, and my DJ booth was situated on top of the same structure as the dance floor. It was not separated acoustically or physically from the dance floor, which is unusual for most dance clubs. Usually, good DJ booths are structurally isolated and acoustically isolated from the surface that people were dancing on. This one was not. So I go to my booth and I open up that package of records that had just arrived from Dallas and Atlanta or Atlanta. I don't remember which. And I open them up and I drop needles on all these new records to see how they would fit into my sets, what part of the night they need to drop on, or if I even liked them at all. You would be shocked at the number of records DJs had to buy back then blindly because we couldn't preview them. We would just order them, and there would be a bunch of them that we would just hate. They just wouldn't get played, and at all, because we had no way to preview these pre-releases. And in this instance, this happened during a period of time in the early 90s when it was like a golden era of hip-hop. There was incredibly high quality, very well produced, very musical, very melodic hip-hop being released that were just absolute anthems, and they're classics to this day. And this shipment contained a few of those classics. And let me slide forward. The club opens, and as was the norm for that period of time, at opening, we would have a line of college students from all over the region, all over East Texas, all over North Louisiana, Southern Arkansas, would all flock to our nightclub. And it was common for us to have a line of kids 2 blocks long from 118 Texas Street all the way to Commerce Street. 2 blocks. And that was the only entertainment in the building. I had a line of kids 2 blocks long waiting to get in to see me and hear me or just party. They didn't even know who I was. But we would have 2 blocks of kids lined up on weekends to wait to come party with us. And, well, we opened up, and that 2 blocks of kids plus a bunch more came in. And in the upstairs, we had several hundred college students and upstairs partying. They're absolutely trashing the place because we served our drinks in cheap plastic cups because there was no possible way to keep up with that much glassware. And we had all those kids in there, and my buddy Eric Denon and another buddy of mine, Ronald Beal, and another buddy of mine, Eric Johnson, were there, and a whole bunch of high school kids I went to high school with and grew up with were there, just partying, and a lot of them loved to hang out with me, and I like that they did that because they acted as a buffer between me and the audience. And a lot of the people that would come, and I'm adding some black here because I want to have a darker shade of this while I paint some stairs. We would have a bunch of kids that were not savvy to nightclub etiquette. They did not know that it was not really cool to come up and boss a nightclub DJ around like they would a wedding DJ or a roller skate DJ or a or their high school dance disc jockeys. They were just used to talking to any old way, and they didn't know you can't do that in a club. That's a great way to never hear that song again. Is if assholes like you like this song, I'm not going to play it. I said that. And anyway, my buddies would act as a buffer between me and these entitled twats that thought they could just boss us around. And I'm forever thankful for them for that. And we're going to render some stairs here in between these walls poorly. And they acted as a buffer, so they would hang out with me. So if any of you have questions as if this event ever actually really happened or not, Eric Denon and Ronald Beal and Charlie Lombardino were there to tell you it really did. And I had been playing some Cypress Hill. I think it might have been Hits from the Bong. And I figured, okay, well, I got a hot new song. Let's drop this on them. So I lit Hits from the Bong in, and unlike me, I let there be silence. I let there be a pause, a little breather in between songs. And I dropped the needle, and I released the platter on this new song, and the intro played, and the whole room just stopped and looked around like, what is this? And then the beat dropped. And next thing I know, I have several hundred really drunk college kids jumping up and down on this 1860s second floor structure. And as the song got on, and as everybody in the room caught the vibe, I had hundreds and hundreds of drunk college kids jumping up and down on this ancient dance floor. And it got to where my booth that was flexing and rocking back and forth, like with every jump, like it would weigh the floor down. It would cause my DJ booth to rock forward. And then, and they kept this up for a while. And I was like, man, this is wild. And then Charlie Lombardino runs up to me and starts screaming, stop the song, stop the song, stop the song, stop the song. And the building, the floor was just shaking, and the booth was shaking, and like dust was falling from the ceiling, and my booth was rocking back and forth, and the needle got thrown off of House of Pain. Jump Around. That's the night House of Pain, Jump Around, almost brought Club Isabella down. My name is Gary Krepak. I'll be your host. If you think that's crazy, buckle up, man. I did this for 35 years. I've got stories that will split your wig open. Again, go to my GoFundMe page. Look me up. Go for my GoFundMe page. I'm trying to raise money for my surgery, for my recovery. Any shares you have, or any shares, comments, If you want to contribute to my Patreon or to my GoFundMe, I will be forever grateful. If all you can do is share and comment on my content, I will love you for it. Shout out to Charlie Lombardino. Man, I miss you. I hope you're doing well. And the fit for today is the Little Shop of Music and Scott Hour. Peace.